about you, but every single time I walk in the nursery, I find flower after flower after flower after flower after flower that I want to grow, and I wind up getting to the register and I kind of like guesstimate how much it's going to cost, and then I'm usually like taken aback at how much it actually costs. So if you want to learn how to get a little bit more bang for your buck when you go to the nursery, follow these tips. In case you're new here, my name is Stacy Ling. I live and grow beautiful flower gardens here in northern New Jersey, Zone 6B. I've got about 10 acres of property, 5 of which I really garden. The other 5 are mostly woods, and I've got lots of beautiful outdoor living spaces and garden rooms that you just have to see to believe. I have been growing flowers since I was way back in law school, which is like way old Stacy. Almost 30 years ago, if you could even believe that. And so I have definitely learned a thing or two about how to save money in the garden, because let's face it, this can be a pretty expensive hobby. So through my almost 30 years of gardening, and I can't even believe I'm saying that, I'm really dating myself, but through almost my 30 years of gardening, I have definitely invested a lot of time, money, and effort into all of the beds. So we started way back in our family home where we lived for 23 years. Yes, 23 years. I grew many gardens there. It started with 1 and it progressed to about, I want to say 13 or 14. And I started them mostly through divisions, seed starting, and swapping with friends and family. I didn't necessarily always go plant shopping, but in order for me to grow that many flowers, I definitely had to find ways to save money. So I've discovered some ways to kind of get a little bit more bang for your buck out in the garden. Here are my best tips for saving money when you're planting flowers. Start flowers from seed because they're less expensive than mature plants, which can save you money, especially if you're planting large areas. Another great way to save money in your flower garden is to divide perennials and large potted plants that you can buy at the nursery. Many perennials and large potted flowers are large enough to be divided and can be easily replanted in your garden. Another great way to save money in your flower garden is to choose native plants because they are adapted to your local climate and soil, which means they require less water, fertilizer, and pest control than non-natives. Some native plants that I love to grow are coneflowers, tick seed, agastache, so many more. Another great way to save money in your flower garden is to learn how to propagate plants from cuttings, because it is a very cost-effective way to expand your garden without buying new plants. I personally love swapping plants with friends and neighbors. They're usually growing something interesting, and it's fun to share the love. I remember years ago when we first moved to our family home where we lived for 23 years, and my mother-in-law gave me these beautiful purple and white bearded irises that I still have in my garden today. I dug a clump up and brought them here when we moved, so it's almost like the gift that keeps on giving. She helped start my perennial garden back at the old property and continues to bloom today in my gardens here. Another great way to save money in your flower garden is to choose multi-purpose plants that will look good in spring and in fall. So for example, let's talk about marigolds. So marigolds, they look really beautiful in the garden. They're a great companion plant, and they also look equally wonderful in the fall. I also try to choose colors that will not only look good in spring, but will also translate well into my fall garden. So that's another great way that you can save money in your flower garden. One of the best ways to grow a gorgeous flower garden for a song is to create your own compost from kitchen waste and garbage scraps. Now, if you're just starting to garden, I highly recommend just going to your local nursery and buying compost, which yes, that's not saving money, but in the long run, try to start your own compost pile, create your own compost so that you set up your gardens with the foundation of success. Okay, this next money saving tip is probably one of my favorite ones, and I use it all the time. So if I want to buy perennials or shrubs or trees or anything like that, I usually wait until the very end of the growing season, because that is when your local nurseries start selling things off at a serious discount to get rid of the stock for the winter. You can also find great deals very early on in the season with very young, less mature plants. But if you want something larger, a little bit more mature, wait until the end of the season. You will find deals upward of like 40, 50, sometimes even 60% off, which is awesome. Another way that I like to save money in my garden, especially if I want to find unique items to display my blooms or decorate the beds, is going thrifting. Head to your local flea market, thrift store. You can find the best deals and the coolest items that you can repurpose for your flower garden and have unique style that is truly your own. And finally, the last way to save money is to start with a plan. Plan your garden, know what you're going to buy before you head to the local nursery, and stick to your list. Do I always do this? No. But it's fun trying. And that's it, you guys. I hope you find ways to save money in your flower garden this year. These are some of my best tips. If you've got any other great tips that I didn't share, I would love to chat more about them below in the comments. And before we part ways, did you know I wrote a book? Well, actually, I wrote two. Last year, my first book published in 2024 called The Bricks and Blooms Guide to a Beautiful and Easy Care Flower Garden. This is your go-to resource that will help you grow flowers if you've been struggling, or if you're new to growing them, or if you just don't have time and you're looking for ways to grow a low maintenance flower garden that you can enjoy for years to come. I give you all my tips and tricks, plus some garden designs. We cover my favorite flowers, easy to grow flowers, annuals, perennials, shrubs. We talk about hydrangeas, and my favorite, a cut flower garden. My second book published, and it is a flower garden planner. This is a must-have resource. I have struggled for years to kind of keep everything all in one place. I keep notes in my phone, I blog, I've written down in journals and things like that, and really I felt that we needed a resource that would be a place where you can kind of put it all together with garden designs and cheat sheets and some blank worksheets where you can keep track of it all. I've already been using mine a lot, and here's a tip actually. To make sure that you record in your garden planner, the best way to do it is to pick a time every day and keep your journal in a place where you're sure to record it. So maybe it's when you're having morning coffee or before you go to bed, or maybe it's while you're having your lunch. But that's kind of how I've been doing it. And I'll tell you, it's become an invaluable resource, one that you'll refer to for years to come, and you'll be able to give it to, future stewards of your garden, or maybe even pass it down to your children so that they can learn from your successes and failures. Thanks so much for joining me in the gardens today. I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy a beautiful day.